Edgar Degas, a man who taught a modern world how to look. He was born in Paris in 1834 and died there in 1917, and in the span between those dates, he made drawing the decisive act of painting. This film is not a biography in the narrow sense. It is an attempt to trace a method, how Degas used line, repetition, and a restless curiosity about movement to make the private moments of city life the subject of art. We will follow him through studios and rehearsal halls, pastels and bronze, controversies and quiet mastery. Listen for the gestures. They are the grammar of his work. Degas was born Hilaire Germain Edgar Degas into a family that valued culture and study. He trained at the École des Beaux-Arts and spent long study periods in Italy, where the Renaissance emphasis on drawing and composition lodged deeply in his practice. Italy taught him about structure, line as scaffolding, and the Academy gave him discipline. But Paris gave him subject matter, the modern city, its spectacle, and the labor that underwrote performance. He returned from Italy not to imitate the past, but to reapply its tools, careful observation, an appetite for draftsmanship, and an appetite for scenes that no history painting would consider worthy. If you want to understand Degas, begin with his drawings. For him, drawing was not a preliminary, it was the thinking itself. Quick contours, a few decisive marks. These capture weight, balance, intention. Degas also borrowed the world's new frame. Photography. He cropped suddenly, cut figures at the edge, tilted the stage. Devices that make the picture feel like a fragment of life rather than a composed tableau. This compositional audacity creates distance and intimacy at once. We are placed as witnesses, often off-center, sometimes intrusive, and that tension is where much of his power lies. Degas transformed pastel. He layered it, stroked it, scraped it, until pastel behaved like paint, rich, tactile, and immediate. He often built his pictures in pastel on colored paper, allowing fields of tone to hold the picture together. Alongside pastel, he experimented with monotype, painting directly on a plate and pulling a single impression. Monotype gave him spontaneity, a painterly directness that preserved accidental beauty. The combination of drawing, pastel, and monotype let him render both the discipline of structure and the fugitive quality of light and movement. His colors are never simply decorative. Degas returned again and again to the ballet. He filmed it with line and color. Rehearsals, classes, the cramped wings where dancers waited. He admired the discipline, the repetition, and he recorded the labor as much as the grace. In works like the dance class and countless studies, he composes networks of bodies, a teacher, a string of pupils, a tense muscle in mid-plie. The staging can feel candid. We peek into practice rather than curtain call. Repetition is his laboratory. He paints variations, small changes in posture, the angle of a foot, the tilt of a head, and from those permutations, he draws knowledge of movement that looks scientific and poetic at once. Degas' other great themes were the washerwomen and women bathing, scenes of private labor and private moments made public. There is a frankness here, a focus on bodies at work, wet skin, the gestures of washing and drying. He also painted racecourses, horses, and jockeys reduced to structural energy, the compact weight that produces speed. Across these subjects, there is an unblinking eye. He watches, he records, and he repeats. Modern critics ask difficult questions. Are these images empathetic studies, or do they contain a voyeurism that objectifies their subjects? The answer is not simple. Degas' detachment is formal, a method, and that method forces us to look, to feel both admiration and discomfort. Degas was not only a draftsman and colorist, he also made sculpture. The most famous is the wax little dancer, age 14, shown in 1881. It startled viewers, a child rendered in mixed media, wax body, real tutu, ribbon, standing with an indefinable toughness. The little dancer sits at a crossroads, sculpture that looks like a found object, a portrait that functions like social testimony. Critics were divided then. Historians continue to argue about dignity and exposure now. Degas' later years were marked by declining eyesight and growing solitude, yet he continued to draw and to experiment. He died in 1917, leaving a body of work that fundamentally recast how we look at the modern city and the bodies that animate it. Where to see him? Musée d'Orsay in Paris holds a superb collection. The Metropolitan Museum in New York and the Art Institute of Chicago offer major holdings. Tate and others preserve his pastels and monotypes. To study Degas is to practice looking. Step close, read the line, then step back and feel the movement take shape.